our product is really more of an image than hardware. You think of making motorcycles, that consumes the vast majority of our time, but in reality, we believe that what our customer is buying is he wants to look a certain way, he wants to feel a certain way, and he pays a lot of money for that privilege, and he incidentally gets a piece of hardware with it called a motorcycle that helps him.
That piece of hardware, the legendary Harley Davidson motorcycle, has seen many changes through the years. So is the company that makes the bikes. Harley Davidson is the last surviving American manufacturer of motorcycles, but the road has not always been a smooth one. In the early 70s, Harley pretty much owned the market in heavyweight cycles. Corporate parent AMF wanted to take advantage of that market dominance by building more bikes faster. Managing the supply chain was not a priority.
During the 1970s, our efforts were all dedicated toward increasing production.
But, as any safe rider will tell you, faster is not necessarily better.
Our product was really at the worst in the mid-70s, 74. It was probably the bottom of that because we overexpanded and just plain let quality get out of control.
When we recognized that there was a quality problem, many of the first actions that we took were really detrimental. We set up a checkpoint right before the assembly line where we began inspecting all parts that were being delivered to the assembly line. And at that point, it's really too late. You can't run an assembly line if you don't know what's going to get there today.
That problem could have led to a focus on the people who supply this line. But there were other, more important items on the corporate agenda. It became clear that Harley Davidson needed a new start.
We recommended that AMF sell the company because our interests were diverging from theirs. As a practical matter, we really didn't think that they could do it, and they weren't successful in selling it outside because we were trying to sell a capital-intensive company that competed only against the Japanese, and that's not the easiest thing in the world to sell.
AMF basically told Beals, okay, go sell it.
He spent about a year looking for a buyer, and during that time put together a very positive profile of Harley Davidson's future, and I think he sold it to himself. He convinced himself that it was a worthwhile investment, so then he put together a group of local management and got one of the earlier of the leveraged buyouts together.
That was 1981, which proved to be a tough time to be taking chances.
We knew it was going to be tougher without cash and without a rich parent. Indeed, it was much tougher than we thought.
And that's why you ended up going public again.
Yes, because what we hadn't counted upon was a very serious recession in the early 80s, the worst that we'd had since the Depression. And we hadn't counted on our market share decreasing rapidly from the mid-30s to 23%.
Harley Davidson set about picking up the pieces and putting together its operations and its motorcycles in a better way. Firm, realistic production schedules were established. In Milwaukee, where Harley makes engines and transmissions, manufacturing people took a close look at inventory turns and found lots of room for improvement.
In 1981, we had $24 million worth of inventory in this plant, and we turned it at a rate of about 4.5 times per year.
They set a goal of 12 turns per year, achieved it, and stayed there for a while.
We did not expect enough of ourselves. We didn't believe that we could still operate the business without that amount of safety stock.
But they discovered that indeed they could. Inventory turns were driven to 16, 20, 24, 28 per year.
Our inventory has dropped from 24 million to about 4 million, and we're running at a higher level of production.
Setup times were reduced drastically, which made smaller lot sizes feasible and put Harley Davidson on the road to just-in-time manufacturing and supply chain management. Focus shifted from pushing production in anticipation of demand to a pull system responding to orders. Employees were enlisted for group problem-solving programs, like quality circles.
We will respond to any circles proposals within 2 weeks of the time they make them. That doesn't necessarily mean we'll say yes.
Involving employees reinforces their commitment to quality.
To me, every transmission or every engine that's built here is going on my motorcycle. Okay, and what I wouldn't want, I certainly wouldn't want a customer to want.
With major changes underway in-house, Harley Davidson decided it was ready to take its ideas on the road to suppliers. There were potholes in that road, too.
Just about every company we talked to, I think, told us when we first started, it said, well, the problem that we have is we're different. You make motorcycles, and for you, just-in-time can work, but we service all different types of customers, so we have to deal with a lot of different types of companies. So just-in-time isn't the same for us. And so we had to show them that the principles are universal. They can work in any company.
There followed a period of gentle persuasion.
Quality is an absolute necessity. It's not negotiable. Delivery is an absolute necessity. It's not negotiable. But there are a lot of things about the product that can be negotiated.
Some suppliers seem to respond half-heartedly.
Just-in-time to them was becoming a just-in-time warehouse. And there's a lot of those companies out there today. What they do is they deliver product to you just-in-time out of their warehouse. Now, if you have problems, quality problems, you have a whole just-in-time warehouse full of quality problems.
So Harley Davidson got tough. The Milwaukee plant set out to trim its supplier base from 320 down to 120 and establish performance requirements.
If a supplier wants to be a just-in-time supplier to Harley Davidson, then we expect him to produce in that manner, not produce in large batches, warehouse the material, and then ship it to us.
Of course, for a supplier to install a just-in-time program, he needs good scheduling information from his customer. Without advanced scheduling, a supplier has to maintain inventory. Harley promised scheduling, and piston supplier KSG Industries says Harley delivered. It's a 3-hour drive from the KSG plant in Marinette, Wisconsin, to Harley Davidson's plant in Milwaukee. Nonetheless, KSG has gone from producing 2 months' inventory to making pistons to meet daily requirements.
Getting the information as we do now, we can see the blips, we can see the overtime periods that are planned, we can see the Saturdays, and we can adapt to that, and we can see where it relates to on our other customers' parts that also share that equipment.
Harley Davidson has not succeeded in persuading KSG to make its foundry part of a manufacturing cell instead of running it next door. But the rest of the line is in a cell for Harley and an automotive customer.
From the start of the boring operation, cam turning, to packaging, it's done within 35 feet about, with maybe 2 to 3 operators as opposed to 15 people located all throughout the plant. Our throughput time is just unbelievable, and that's where we've really gained our momentum.
Harley Davidson calls its just-in-time program MAN, Materials as Needed. In addition to just-in-time programs of their own, suppliers are required to have statistical operator controls and employee involvement programs.